Hi, I hope you're having a really great day so far. My name is Mara Jurgensen, and I am a Girl Scout currently trying to attain the Gold Award. The Gold Award, for those of you that don't know, is the highest level award that you can get in Girl Scouts. And the purpose of this award is to try to better the community around you. For my project, I want to help grandparents connect with their grandchildren or great-grandchildren through books. And this would happen by me recording you reading a book, and then after you read the book, you talk a little bit about your family history, and then I would send that video to your grandkids to watch. And due to the coronavirus, I sadly cannot take those videos of you right now. However, I've compiled a few videos of other people reading books to give you examples of what your video recordings will look like. So I hope you enjoy.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie. I work for Reading Legacies, and I'll be reading No Roses for Harry by Jean Zion, illustrated by Margaret Lloyd Graham. Harry was a white dog with black spots. On his birthday, he got a present from Grandma. It was a woolen sweater with roses on it. Harry didn't like it the moment he saw it. He didn't like the roses. When he tried it on, he felt cozy and snug, but he still didn't like the roses. He thought it was the silliest sweater he'd ever seen. The next day, when Harry went downtown with the children, he wore his new sweater. When people saw it, they laughed. When dogs saw it, they barked. Harry made up his mind then and there to lose Grandma's present. When they went into a big store to shop, the children took off his sweater and let him carry it. This was just what Harry wanted. First, he tried to lose it in the pet department. But a man found it and gave it back. Then he tried to lose it in the grocery department. But a lady found it and gave it back. He tried to lose it in the flower department. But a little boy found it and gave it back. The children didn't let Harry carry it anymore. They made him wear it. As they started home, Harry was beginning to think he'd never lose it. When he got home, his friends were waiting to play with him, but Harry didn't feel like playing, so they left him alone. As he sat wondering what to do, Harry noticed a loose stitch in his sweater. He pulled at the wool, just a little at first, then a bit more, and a little bit more. Harry didn't know it, but a bird was watching. In a minute, Harry had pulled out quite a long piece of wool. The end of it lay on the grass behind him. Suddenly, the bird flew down. Quick as a flash, she took the end of the wool in her beak and flew away with it. It all happened before Harry could even blink. The sweater began to disappear right before Harry's eyes. First one leg, then the neck, then the other leg, then the back, and finally, the whole thing was just one long, long piece of wool flying off into the sky. The sweater was gone. Harry could hardly believe it. Then he barked and jumped with joy. Then he ran out of the yard. He ran down the street barking thank you to the bird over and over again. The bird and the wool were just a tiny speck in the sky, but Harry kept following them. He came home thirsty and tired and was having a drink in the kitchen when the children ran in. "We got a letter from Grandma," one of them said. "She's coming to visit us," shouted the other. Harry thought of the sweater and his tail drooped. Before Grandma came, the family looked everywhere for the sweater. They wanted her to see how nice Harry looked in it. Of course, they couldn't find it. Only Harry knew why. When Grandma arrived, Harry ran to her with his leash. Then he sat up and begged. "All right, Harry," said Grandma. "After I've had my lunch and a nap, we'll go for a walk." That afternoon, Harry and Grandma and the children started off on their walk. Harry barked happily and pulled towards the park. When they got to the park, Harry pulled harder. The children let him off his leash and he ran on ahead. He seemed to be looking for something. All at once, he stopped under a big tree. He looked up and began to bark and wag his tail. Grandma and the children came running. They got to the tree and looked up too. Suddenly one of the children said, "I see a nest." "It's made of wool," said the other, "and it's the very same color as Harry's sweater," they shouted together. "It is Harry's sweater," exclaimed Grandma. Just then, a bird looked out of the nest. "Look, Grandma, look," shouted the children. "Harry gave his sweater to a bird." "I wonder how he did that," said Grandma. The bird sang and Harry wagged his tail even harder. At Christmas, Harry got a present from Grandma. It was a new sweater. Harry liked this one very much. When he tried it on, he felt as cozy and snug as the bird in the nest. But best of all, it was white with black spots. Thank you for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire. I work for Reading Legacies. Today I'm going to be reading City Dog, Country Frog, written by Mo Williams and pictures by John J. Muth. Spring. City Dog didn't stop on that first day in the country. He ran as far and as fast as he could, and all without a leash. Here he goes. City Dog spotted something that he had never seen sitting on a rock. It was a country frog. "What are you doing?" asked City Dog. "Waiting for a friend," replied Country Frog with a smile. "But you'll do." City Dog and Country Frog played together. City Dog was new to the country, so Country Frog taught him Country Frog games. You look happy. Country Frog's games involved jumping and splashing and croaking. Look, he's wagging his tail. That was spring. Summer. City Dog didn't stop to admire the green, green grass. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. "I'm going to do you a favor," said City Dog when he found Country Frog. "I'm going to teach you City Dog games." Yes. City Dog's games involve sniffing and fetching and barking. Oh, that frog really threw that stick. City Dog and Country Frog played until Country Frog was too tired to sniff and fetch and bark anymore. Phew. That was summer. Fall. City Dog didn't stop to sniff the falling leaves. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. "Shall we play today?" asked City Dog. "Dog or frog games?" Country Frog took a deep breath. "I am a tired frog," replied Country Frog. "Maybe we can play remembering games." City Dog and Country Frog sat together on the rock. They remembered their spring, jumping and splashing and croaking. They remembered their summer, sniffing and fetching and barking. Oh, look, they're in the clouds. That was fall. And winter. City Dog didn't stop to eat the snow. He ran straight for Country Frog's rock. Here he is. City Dog looked for Country Frog. Where is he? Country Frog was not there. He's looking around. Where could he be? That was winter. Spring again. Country Chipmunk spotted something she had never seen sitting on a rock. It was City Dog. Look at his tail. "What are you doing?" asked Country Chipmunk. Waiting for a friend, replied City Dog sadly. Then he smiled, a froggy smile, and said, "But you'll do." And that was spring again. The end. I hope you guys enjoyed that story.
Hello, my name is Julianne,
And my name is Avery.
and we're from National Charity League Del Sol chapter, volunteering with reading Legacies.
Today, we're going to be reading Madeline by Ludwig Bemelmans.
In an old house in Paris that was covered with vines lived 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. In 2 straight lines, they broke their bread and brushed their teeth and went to bed.
They smiled at the good and frowned at the bad, and sometimes they were very sad. They left the house at 9:30 in 2 straight lines, in rain or shine. The smallest one was Madeline.
She was not afraid of mice. She loved winter, snow, and ice. To the tiger in the zoo, Madeline just said, "Pooh-pooh."
And nobody knew so well how to frighten Miss Clavel. In the middle of one night, Miss Clavel turned on her light and said,
"Something is not right."
Little Madeline sat in bed and cried and cried. Her eyes were red. Soon after, Dr. Cohen came. He rushed out to the phone, and he dialed Daunton 106. "Nurse," he said, "it's an appendix."
Everybody had to cry. Not a single eye was dry. Madeline was in his arm, in a blanket safe and warm. In a car with a red light, they drove out into the night.
Madeline woke up 2 hours later in a room with flowers. Madeline soon ate and drank. On her bed there was a crank, and the crack on the ceiling had the habit of sometimes looking like a rabbit.
Outside were birds, trees, and sky. And so 10 days passed quickly by.
One nice morning, Miss Clavel said,
"Isn't this a fine day to visit Madeline?"
"Visitors from 2 to 4, read a sign outside her door. Tiptoeing with solemn face was some flowers and a vase. In they walked and then said,
"Ah!"
when they saw the toys and candy and the dollhouse from Papa.
But the biggest surprise by far, on her stomach was a scar. "Goodbye," they said. "We'll come again." And the little girls left in the rain. They went home and broke their bread and brushed their teeth and went to bed.
In the middle of the night, Miss Clavel turned on the light and said,
"Something is not right."
and, afraid of a disaster, Miss Clavel read fast and faster. And she said,
"Please, children, tell me, do. Tell me what is troubling you."
and all the little girls cried,
"Boo-hoo! We want to have our appendix out, too." "Good night, little girls. Thank the Lord you're well. And now go to sleep," said Miss Clavel.
and she turned out the light and closed the door. And that's all there is. There isn't any more. The end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Gunnar. I'm the proud grandson of Betty Mullenbrock, who started reading Legacies, and today I'm going to be reading Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there, it's the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on. You'll be left in the lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets aren't marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right in 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start in to race down long wiggled roads at a neck-breaking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jack, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With banner flip-flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you are that kind of guy. Oh, the places you'll go. There is fun to be done, there are points to be scored, there are games to be won, and the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame, you'll be famous as can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win, because you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone will be something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road, between hither and yon, that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you will go, though the weather be foul. On you will go, though your enemies prowl. On you will go, through the hack and cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far, and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And you will succeed. Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. So be your name Buxbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai Ali von Allen O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Kate and I'm from Reading Legacies, and today we'll be reading Curious George. This is George. He lived in Africa. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. One day, George saw a man. He had on a large yellow straw hat. The man saw George too. What a nice little monkey, he thought. I would like to take him home with me. He put his hat on the ground, and of course, George was curious. He came down from the tree to look at the large yellow hat. The hat had been on the man's head, and George thought it would be nice to have it on his own head. So he picked it up and he put it on. The hat covered George's head. He couldn't see. The man picked him up quickly and popped him into a bag, and George was caught. The man with the big yellow hat put George into a little boat, and a sailor rowed them both across the water to a big ship. George was sad, but he was still a little bit curious. On the big ship, things began to happen. The man took off the bag. George sat on a little stool and the man said, "George, I'm going to take you to a big zoo in a big city. You'll like it there. Now run along and play, but don't get into trouble." George promised to be good, but it is easy for little monkeys to forget. On the deck, he found some seagulls, and he wondered, how could they fly? He was very curious. Finally, he had to try. It looked easy, but... oh, what happened? First this, and then this. Where is George? The sailors looked and looked. At last they saw him struggling in the water and almost all tired out. "Man overboard," the sailors cried as they threw him a life belt. George caught it and held on. At last he was safe on board. After that, George was more careful to be a good monkey until, at last, the long trip was over. George said goodbye to the kind sailors, and he and the man with the yellow hat walked off the ship onto the shore and onto the city to the man's house. After a good meal and a good pipe, George felt very tired. He crawled into bed and fell asleep at once. The next morning, the man telephoned the zoo. George watched him. He was fascinated. Then the man went away. George was curious. He wanted to telephone too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What fun! Ding, 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 ding. George had telephoned the fire station. The firemen rushed to the telephone. "Hello? Hello?" they said, but there was no answer. Then they looked for the signal on the big map that showed where the telephone call had come from. They didn't know it was George. They thought it was a real fire. "Hurry, hurry, hurry!" The firemen jumped onto the fire engines and onto the hook and ladders. "Ding dong, ding dong, everyone out of the way! Hurry, hurry, hurry!" The firemen rushed into the house. They opened the door. No fire! Only a naughty little monkey. "Oh, catch him, they cried. George tried to run away. He almost did, but he got caught in the telephone wire, and a thin fireman caught one arm and a fat fireman caught the other. "You fooled the fire department," they said. "We have to shut you up where you can't do any more harm." So they took him away and shut him in a prison. George wanted to get out. He climbed up the window to try the bars. Just then the watchman came in. He got on the wooden bed to catch George, but he was too big and too heavy. The bed tipped up, the watchman fell over, and quick as lightning, George ran out through the open door. He hurried through the building and out onto the roof, and then, he was lucky to be a monkey, out he walked onto the telephone wires. Quickly and quietly over the guard's head, George walked away. He was free! Down the street, outside the prison wall, stood a balloon man. A little girl bought a balloon for her brother, and George watched. He was curious again. He felt he must have a bright red balloon. He reached over and tried to help himself, but instead of one balloon, a whole bunch broke loose. In an instant, the wind whisked them all away, and with them went George, holding tight with both hands. Up he sailed, higher and higher. The houses looked like toy houses, and the people looked like dolls. George was very frightened. He held on very tight. At first, the wind blew in great gusts. Then it quieted. Finally, it stopped blowing altogether. George was very tired. Down, down he went. Bump, onto the top of a traffic light. Everyone was surprised. The traffic got all mixed up, and George didn't know what to do. And then he heard someone call, "George!" He looked down and he saw his friend, the man with the big yellow hat. George was very happy, and the man was very happy too. George slid down the post, and the man with the big yellow hat put him under his arm. Then he paid the balloon man for the balloons, and then George and the man climbed into the car, and at last, away they went. To the zoo. What a nice place for George to live. And that is the end of the story. I hope you guys enjoyed.